Hey there, it's Alex, and welcome to Hardly Working. This is a channel, if you haven't seen any of the previous stuff, about my journey into retirement, which is going to be in about 4 years. And, one thing about that is that not much happens over periods of days or weeks or even months that gets you closer. It's a very slow process, but I'm excited about it. But anyways, I'm trying to get better at this content creating stuff, so I thought I would talk some of my about my past, so you can get to know me a little bit better. Since really, it's going to be a while before things I have to actually do things to put things into place for my retirement. But anyways, in a younger iteration of myself, I spent times playing guitar in a band. I was a bit of a rock star.
Hey there, it's Alex. Wrench in one hand, coffee in the other. Trading CNC and deadlines for mischief, mayhem and bother. From the shop to the cornfields, from the drill press to the stars. Hey! Retirement's calling, aliens are crawling. Time to vanish those green Mars bars. Hardly working, hardly sleeping, but I'm still on the hunt. Aliens, odd jobs, and dad jokes. Yes, I'll confront. Retirement's weird, but hey, no boss, just cosmic toys. Tune in now for some rusty tools, UFOs, employ of the boys. Yeah, I'm supposed to relax, but I found a ray gun in the garage. Welcome to
So I grew up in Hollywood, and in 1979, my mom moved us from Hollywood to Burbank, which was a complete shock change, because in Hollywood things were pretty violent. I mean, there were fights going on all the time. There were bathrooms you did not want to go into, and I went to school in Burbank where, for the first 2 months I was just thinking, like, why isn't everybody fighting? But it was very nice, much more suburban, much more quiet. I think it was good for me. But at that time, I was listening to rock music like everyone else, Van Halen and Led Zeppelin and Aerosmith, and that was pretty typical for the kids to be listening to. But at that time, my interest peaked at the local punk rock scene and punk rock in general. I started to listen to K Rock and Rodney on the Rock, and my tastes and changed quite drastically to just being a punk rock, just a voracious fan of the local bands. I started going to clubs and things like that. And one thing about me is I always thought, wow, I would love to do that. I would love to be on stage playing guitar, playing the kind of music I wanted to play for that kind of adoration, that kind of success, which is just local bands. And I saw bands like, some of my favorite bands were like X and Wall of Voodoo, the Dead Kennedys, and a lot of bands from England. And I got to see all my heroes too at the local clubs. But I wanted to play guitar. I wanted to play guitar. But at that time I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, Alex, you're gonna need to learn a few jokes because you just weren't blessed with those kind of looks. But I figured if a guy like Rick Nielsen from Cheap Trick could be kind of like a guitar god icon, well, I may have had a chance. So I bought a guitar from the J.C. Penney catalog, this electric guitar for $49. And that Christmas, my mom got me a horrible little just combo amp that had built-on distortion, and I drove my poor mom crazy just trying to learn to play guitar. And at that time, my best friend who I met in high school, Ben, he already knew quite a bit about playing guitar, and he taught me my first chords, and he taught me the basics of it. And I just dreamed from that point on of playing in a band, and it didn't have to be like a huge arena band or even financially successful, just something like in the clubs around LA at the Whiskey A Go Go and the Cathay de Grand and all the myriad of clubs. And then in Los Angeles, it's just like a banquet of clubs, and every band from around the world would come by in Los Angeles, and you got to see all these great bands. And so I started playing, and me and Ben would jam, and we would get together with other people and jam, and eventually, by the time I was in my early 20s, I got together some friends, and we started a punk rock band called Crib Death. And I get it, don't try to start a punk band named Crib Death in 2025, but in 1985 it was kind of the thing to do. So me and our punk band Crib Death, I wrote some songs, and we actually got a few gigs. We got a few gigs opening up for local punk bands, and we did that for about a year, and it was just the first taste of this. Nobody knew us, but people knew the bands we were opening for. People knew Ill Repute. People knew Dr. No. People knew DC3. So there was this, and we got to perform in front of them, and it was just an absolute blast. And I thought, wow, I'd love to do more of this. So I diligently kept playing my guitars and got better equipment over time. And then by 1990, I was maybe 25 years old. I got together with my friend Peter Fullerton, Carlos Cake Nunez. We got him to sing. Peter was playing drums, and our friend Tracy Colby was playing bass, and we started a band called Dick Tit. Yeah, you heard that right, Dick Tit. I've got it tattooed on my arm right here, the logo of Dick Tit. And actually, we played a lot. We played a lot of shows. We were together for about 3-4 years, and we were playing pretty much a couple times a month. We were opening for some great local bands. We got to open for Green Day. We got to open for the Weirdos. There's several bands that we got to share the stage with, and we were putting out some records, some independent records, and just having at it and playing and getting shows and getting somewhat of a following. And this was just absolutely incredible to me. It's a band that went down in the annals of punk rock history with not much to show for it, but at the time it was just fantastic. We were playing around East Hollywood and Silver Lake and clubs like Raji's and the Gaslight and the Garage. Man, I was just having a great time. But that dream of mine was coming true. But like all bands, eventually, they fizzle out and the bands break up, and, I was looking for stuff to do. A couple weeks ago, our singer, Cake, ran into Jack Black at a screening of a documentary called 40 Watts from Nowhere about a pirate radio station called KBLT that operated in Silver Lake around the time we played. And when he ran into Jack Black, he gave him a copy of our flyer that he's holding there right there. And on that night, on the stage that we performed, was a very early iteration of Tenacious D. And I believe also on the stage that night was a very young Beck, who I think got signed to Bongload Records that night. And in 1999, I was at a barbecue in Silver Lake with some other friends of mine who were also in bands. A guy by the name of John Ramirez, who played in a band called the Streetwalking Cheetahs, among a bunch of other ones. Dave Foster, he was in Extra Fancy and Los Super Elegantes, and he's like a bass player who just played in a lot of bands, because like drummers, people need bass players. And Jason Hadley was the drummer for Wood Pussy. So we were there at this barbecue, and I said, hey, I know this guy named Wampus, Steve Wampus Reynolds, and he was talking about he thought it would be funny to start a tribute band, a Judas Priest tribute band that played naked called Nudist Priest. And we just thought that was hilarious. And John comes to me and he says, is Wampus actually going to do that? And I said, I don't think so. He's more of an idea guy. So he says, we should do it. And I was a little bit reluctant because it wasn't my idea. And I'll always give props to Wampus for coming up with the idea. But what we did is me, John, Dave Foster, and Jason Hadley, we just started practicing. We learned about 5 or 6 Judas Priest songs. And we booked a club on Sunday night at Club Sucker at a club called The Garage, which is a really popular Sunday night venue that showcased good bands. I was there seeing shows on Sunday nights quite often. And we got booked there. You know, we convinced the booker to book us, and we headlined the show. And we thought this would be a great ride. We thought it would just be a hoot. It was going to be a one-off. Get on stage naked and play Judas Priest songs. And I got to tell you, the line was around the corner. They sold it out. People couldn't get in. It was packed to the rafters. There was a side barn door of the place. It was so packed that door just busted open and people kind of rolled into the alley. And it was incredible that my intuition and John's intuition and everybody's intuition that this is a hilarious idea and I would go see this myself. And it was just great. I think we played one of the songs twice and the crowd just went absolutely insane. I've never been on stage with that type of reaction. And it was a bit of the talk of the local scene, and we got an interview in LA Weekly in the music section that you could still look up on the internet. The article's called was "Nudist Fucking Priest," and you know, we started getting calls for bookings. You want to play, and our intention was only to play once, but I mean, we were getting really a lot of requests to book, and the band continued from 1999 till about 2016. Our last show was 2016, and we took big hiatuses off. But during that time, I doubt if we did more than around 20 shows. And it was the only band that I ever played in that we got $1,500 and $2,000 guarantees, meaning they said, book us, we'll guarantee you this money, which you have to be really have quite a following before the clubs of LA are going to guarantee a $1,500 or $2,000 guarantee. And we were getting written up in local rags like Spin Magazine that had, you know, kind of exposés and articles about tribute bands. Recently, about 5 or 6 years ago, Nudist Priest was the $200 answer to a Jeopardy question. So this band got quite a bit of notoriety.
Tribute bands, 200.
Nudist Priest, truly naked to the world. Kelly, it was Judas Priest.
Most likely haven't heard about it, but I mean, this band started getting a lot of notoriety. During the interview segments of Rob Halford in VH1's Behind the Music for Judas Priest, he was wearing a Nudist Priest t-shirt. And we sold out just about every single show we played. We played infrequently. We only played in Los Angeles. We never played outside of Los Angeles once. Yet we were getting national attention, and you know, which was awesome. It was just a great thing to play. And I got to tell you, I would be backstage naked with nothing but my flying V, and I'd have to walk out on stage with 300, 500, 600 people standing there. And it was like, honestly, it was like the Nazi death march. I was so nervous about this, but as soon as you hit that first cave, that first chord, it was game on, and it was awesome. It was a great experience. And anyways, that was probably my last dabbling in playing music live and playing in bands. 2016, we had a reunion show at the Terragram Ballroom here in downtown Los Angeles, and you know, that's where we kind of closed the chapter on it. And I really haven't played in any bands since. I do produce some music, you know, for myself, and you know, but I just wanted to tell you that story about what I did, my life as a very, very minor rock star in the Los Angeles music scene. Anyways, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, week, month, and I'll see you guys soon with some more content.